Hello, my name is Josh Obert, and I'm a GIS analyst with the ACPF National Hub. In this video, we're going to discuss the first tool in the Stream Network and Catchments section of the ACPF Toolbox, Create Pour Points. A pour point is the outlet or inlet of a watershed. It is very important to know where your pour point is. Everything upstream from a pour point will define a watershed, and each pour point will have its own watershed. If you were working with a non-headwater watershed, it would be very important to define the input pour point and then the output pour point. Pour points are created by extracting flow accumulation values that are along the watershed boundary, and the highest flow accumulation value that is at least 4 standard deviations above the mean will be selected and then converted into the point. This means that we could get multiple outputs, and that's why we are going to review and edit our pour points once they're created. Accurately capturing the locations where flow paths enter and exit your watershed will ensure that all follow-on ACPF tools are representative of the land area draining to your watershed outlet. Failure to provide accurate pour points will likely result in an inadvertent inclusion of land area from neighboring watersheds. Additionally, pour points are a required input to the Stream Reach and Catchments tool to ensure that neighboring watersheds are not included in the hydrologic boundaries that are created as an output of the tool. So we're back in our ArcGIS Pro map. We will open the catalog window on the right side of the screen if it isn't already open by clicking the catalog tab. Expand our ACPF toolbox and expand Develop Stream Networks and Catchments. We will double click on the first tool, Create Pour Points, to open. We have 2 inputs that we will include, and the tool produces 1 output. We will now add our inputs. We will choose our boundary file in the first dropdown as it is located in our map. Our D8 flow accumulation is automatically added thanks to this selection, and our pour points output was also automatically populated as pour points followed by the hub 12. We'll go down to the Run button and click it to run the tool. It is essential for users to manually inspect the output of this tool and, if needed, manually edit the location of automatically generated pour points. All edits to pour points should be completed prior to running the Stream Reach and Catchments tool. Pour points must be placed exactly on a grid cell representing the highest flow accumulation, either entering for non-headwater watersheds or exiting the watershed. To ensure this condition, the flow accumulation raster should be visualized when manually editing pour points. Thresholding the flow accumulation raster into 2 classes can simplify this visualization process. Here's an example of output pour points that came from a different watershed. We can see in yellow that 3 pour points were generated for this watershed along the boundary. This is because we have 2 distinctive flow networks exiting the watershed at this point. In reality, the pour point should be put further downstream with the confluence of those 2 flow networks. So we move it downstream. This will be considered our new outlet for the watershed.
The tool has finished running and our pour points have been added to the map. I have changed the symbology to make sure that they can be seen better. At our inlet pour point, we will turn on our hill shade. We can see our dam that we had placed to force this flow from the outside of our watershed into the main channel closer to the main flow. However, we could not quite get it to do what we were wanting it to do. Our red inlet pour point is upstream from this junction formed from this outside flow. We will need to move this inlet point to just below this junction. To do this, we need to check a couple things. First, we need to check that the pour points are selectable. In the table of contents on the left side of the window, we will click the selection icon, which is the blue and white square. This will show us what layers are selectable. We can see that pour points are turned on, but so are many other layers. We will turn off all the layers except for pour points. This will allow for only pour points to be edited, reducing the amount of unwanted edits that may occur. Once this has been completed, we will change back to our layer contents by clicking the file tree icon. Next, we will click on the Edit tab at the top of our ArcGIS Pro window. We will want to make sure that snapping is on. We can see the snapping button in the snapping section of our edit toolbar. We will click the square and plus sign of the button and it will turn blue, showing us that it is turned on. If we click on the word snapping and the down caret, we are presented with a menu of what snaps are turned on. We want only the line snapping on, which is the square with a diagonal line. Once this is set, we'll go to our edit toolbar and click the move button in the tools section. If you do not see move, you will need to scroll down within this tools section. We will then go down to our map and we will click on our inlet point and it will turn yellow. We will click and hold on the point and move it to just below this junction. We can see that it is snapped to the line as the flow network name and edge are shown on our screen. Once we have it in the right position, we will let go of our mouse to finish it. We will now travel down to the outlet pour point. Once again, from our hillshade, we can see the dams that we had placed to focus the flow. Our point here lands just around our boundary. We are going to move it slightly past our boundary in order to assist with merging our stream reach and water bodies, which we will do in a future video. Let's turn off our hillshade and turn on our flow accumulation. We can see that our flow runs along the black line, and so we are going to click on our flow point, hold, and we will move it to a place along this black line just past our field boundary. Now, since the flow accumulation is a raster, snapping is not involved with this, and so we will not get the same message that we had before. Once it is in position, we will come up to our edit toolbar and click the save button. This will allow our edits to be saved. Now there's a chance that you have your edits to save automatically. This is a setting in ArcGIS Pro and you will not need to hit that button. However, it is highly suggested that you go ahead and click that button anyway to make sure that it saves in the off chance that the program crashes.
To recap, we discussed the importance of and ran the Create Pour Points tool to produce our pour points. The next video of this series will discuss how to define our stream network using area threshold.